was Lock and Key and Big Dot Lusty. OK, well, there's a new exhibition of record cover designs which has just opened at the Kinsman Morrison Gallery in Maddox Street in London called Cover Job. And we went down to the gallery towards the end of last week to meet and talk with three of the guys whose work is on exhibition there. Roger Dean, who designs the Yes albums, and Storm Poe from Hipgnosis. OK, Poe, how did Hipgnosis first get involved in sleeve design?
Through the back door, really. We knew the Pink Floyd in Cambridge, and when we came to London, Storm and I were both at our respective art colleges, although living in the same flat together. Floyd was starting to do some things then, well, they were starting flat, and they came along, and I suppose because we'd been friends, it was sort of the natural thing to say, look, you're in visuals, why don't you have a go at the album sleeve? And that was the first thing we did.
Well, the things that you do, Roger, how much do you find that the band themselves, any specific band, want to be involved in the production of the sleeve?
Oh, there's no rule. I mean, in recent years, there's been fewer bands, and yes, mainly, they wanted to be involved a lot. It's made it infinitely more difficult.
I was wondering to what extent you feel that it's important in a way that the sleeve at least reflects the atmosphere of the music on an album.
Sometimes.
I know that we've certainly done a few sleeves which have related directly to the music and nothing else. I think there's one here in this exhibition, which is Quatermass, where we just heard the music. I think we met the group in the pub once and chatted, and straight from the music, Storm came up with the idea, and we did it.
Was, if you like, inspired by a direct piece of the music, but I don't know whether anybody else would be able to say, gosh, yeah, it's just like the music or came directly from there. But I think most of our stuff is related, yes, in one way or other, to the music or to what the band tell us about themselves or about what they think a visual could do for them, what kind of visual. And more so than you, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, when I was kidding around about you saying about being competitive, I mean, the difference between us is that you can put out a wider variety of styles. I mean, basically, if a band comes to me, they have to like what I do and accept that it's going to look like my work. More so now than in the past, because I'm less tolerant of experimenting with things that I have bad feelings about, you know, thinking they won't work. The other thing, too, is I'm much less productive. I mean, I'm doing 2 or 3, 4 drawings a year. You must be able to do at least one a week, one cover a week, probably more.
Yeah.
No,
we don't do that.
Several of you for a start.
Yes, yeah, right. And I mean, you do other things anyway. But there's a whole difference between illustration, I think, a drawing, than there is with photographs. Photographs have a more malleable style, and it is easy to do different things. I don't think that what we did for Quatermass is remotely like Atom Heart Mother for the Floyd, which is always remotely like the Winkies' new cover. They're all different, although they're photographic. And they're not... People, I think... I imagine, and I don't know whether I'm right, I kind of imagine that if people come to us, they come for some general style, but nothing as specific as Roger's.
So, Poe, from your side of things, then, to what extent are you aware that what you do actually does influence the sales of an album?
I think it could depend a lot. Depends really on, I think, probably the commercial aspects involved, whether particularly, say, group management really want something that's, say, they're a heavy band, they want a heavy picture. Doesn't always sell. I mean, example was a band called Toe Fat. We did the sleeve, which was a picture of a toe superimposed on a pair of shoulders. It looked pretty weird, actually. I don't know what the group's music was like, but I'm pretty certain that when people were flicking through the browsers, that they saw that, they probably went, oh dear, that doesn't look very nice, and shot on to something else. You know, I don't think they would have probably taken it out unless they had a specific kind of perverse interest. But it works both ways. I mean, you know, sometimes when we do a sleeve which is particularly powerful visually, I mean, I've been into record shops and seen covers which are 4 years old still being displayed. Or maybe a band that's not so well known has a good sleeve. Maybe they'll put it in the front of the shop window because they like the picture. Therefore, it's a bit of good marketing, you know. But, I don't know. See what Storm has to say about it. He has a few things to say on that, I think.
Can you repeat the question? Because I'm not quite sure. Well, there's so many aspects, though, Bob. It's only because there's so many aspects to the question. I'm not quite sure which part you want to know about.
But presumably, with each individual thing that you do, you must be aware or relate to the kind of response that you think the people who see the sleeve in a browser rack or whatever, in what way they will relate to what you're doing.
Yeah, I think we're aware of it, only so much as we work in a commercial environment. We are commercial artists. But I'd like...
Meaning you two?
Yes.
I'm not an artist, whatever.
Commercial designers. But I think that we'd like to think, deep down, that that really doesn't have any bearing on it at all. I mean, we like to do pictures we get off on, primarily. So that's what I was saying earlier about relationships between the music and the image, is that the relationships may be very private because they're ours. And if people are going to hire us or employ us, or they like what we do, it's because they also get off on our private relationships between the music and the picture. So that when we're coming to do sleeves, we don't think, hello, I wonder what will help sell it, or will it be knickers or tits or whatever is going to help promote this record. We very rarely, but it doesn't mean to say that we aren't concurrently aware of what is perhaps commercial, in apostrophes, and what is uncommercial. But I mean, the subtleties of visuals, what effects, I mean, you may go into the shop and be undecided, well, shall I buy this record cover, this record, or that record, and you may be affected by the cover. But it'll work both ways. You can be unaffected by it, you can be turned off. Who knows? If we had any way of relating the cover to the sales, we'd be able to earn more money, that's for sure.
Yes.
To what extent do you find, though, that a band really does try and influence you? What resistance do you have to influence that you don't feel is actually right for a particular...
Well, I can think of several occasions when people, you know, we've got what we want to do. We've designed it, we know it looks good, and we know it's right. And unfortunately, there are a few people in the world of rock and roll who play guitars, and I don't tell them how to play their guitars, and I wish they wouldn't tell me how to do my record covers. But they do.
Because I get the feeling...
They get an aura and say, please, you know, they sort of say, oh, look, man, couldn't we just put this, that, and that there? And I really want to say, no, you can't. And sometimes there's a bit of a heavy confrontation.
There's an irony in there. I mean, if they choose to employ us, right, and then tell us what to do, there seems to be a kind of irony that seems absurd. We can't always handle it. But equally, it's not to say that some of them don't have good ideas.
No,
I mean,
that's true.
When we did House on the Hill for the audience, which is a long time ago, which is one I'm particularly fond of, and we did that, you know, in close collaboration with the band, and it was a great success.
Or this new Genesis one, too.
You know, you can do it. It's I guess it's when it's obstructive to the point where we feel that they're actually stopping us, you know, not taking any account.
Presumably the times when we hear or read that the album sleeve is holding up the release of the record, right, is a result of this kind of confrontation?
No, not always.
It's
not
different.
Sometimes.
There's a situation can occur. I mean, I've just been going through this now, where in the summer I was late with the drawing. And every time they rang me up, it freaked me out so much I was later. But I've just been through a situation where I delivered the stuff on time, and I think the album is seriously late now due to very, very small details that I don't really think should have been brought into it. You can't be ready the correct amount of time in advance, because the printing takes about 6 weeks on average, the record takes about 2 weeks, so the artwork should be ready a month earlier than the album. But you can't be, because they haven't written the songs, they change the lyrics, they do everything. Right.
So just finally, the exhibition really is about record sleeve designs. And the one thing that we've not talked about, which I think is very important actually, is the relationship of record to tape in terms of... Roger, I mean...
Right. Well, the first thing about tapes is that they're small, there's no packaging to speak of, and they're getting smaller and smaller, so finally they're going to end up something like a hearing aid battery. The basic difference between a tape and a record is that a tape is an abstract way of getting directly to the music. The record is a possession. A lot of people would resent the idea that they're into possessions, but basically that's how it works. That's why the packaging's important, as well as the music, and why it's that big. It's something, it's there, it exists. The tape is a totally different thing. It is getting to this situation where it is just a button and an abstract idea. You press that, you hear it, and that's all. It isn't a possession, it's just a sound. it's a much purer way of doing it in a way. But I think, in spite of protests to the contrary, people really are into possessions. They're magic objects. They establish identity. They're about their character. They're about all kinds of things. So that's where we're working. That's why it exists. That's why they're important to have the right feeling for them.
A look at some of the work on show at the Cover Job exhibition, and we rounded off there with the new sleeve design and part of a track called To Be Over from the new Yes album Relayer, which will be released now on November the 29th. Well, next week's programme is a special edition of Whistle Test devoted entirely to Joni Mitchell's concert in May this year at the new Victoria Theatre. 40 minutes of really beautiful music, and that starts up next Tuesday at 10:35. But to close tonight's Whistle Test, as promised, from the new Golden Earring album, Up and Down Absurdlia, this is called Love is a Rodeo.